Good afternoon. It's Wednesday here on 90.3 FM, and it's time for Helping Seniors of Brevard. I'm John Harper. Joe Steckler will be on the second half of today's show, but right now let's join Kerry Fink and his special guest. Kerry?
Of Helping Seniors Radio. Our special guest today on Helping Seniors Radio is a good friend of Helping Seniors. It's Bill Johnson, elder law attorney, I would say par excellence. That would be Kerry's 2 cents. He's board certified elder law attorney, and he's goes way, way back with our other special guest today, who normally would be hosting this, and that is Joe Steckler, our president and founder of Helping Seniors. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Kerry. I know what Bill can say. I just wanted to see what you can say. Okay.
So it's all good, and it's amazing how we're able to use this technology, how all this comes together during this time of COVID-19. We are actually all doing exactly as the governor has told us we're supposed to do in our own separate locations. So we're maintaining social distance, and we're able to use Skype technology to bring you the radio program for today, the Helping Seniors radio show. And a little bit later in the program, we're actually going to have Dr. N Sheldon joining us as well, because the topic for today is going to be how we are working through all the things that they want us to do to ensure safety, because Bill, as an a board certified elder law attorney, you are most definitely dealing day in and day out with our most vulnerable population. And so one of the things we're going to explore today is how you're able to do those things at a time when social distancing is the norm. They don't want us in and out of assisted livings and things like that. So I wanted to welcome you to the show and just kind of get you to lead us off on the foot of how you are able to do those important things at a time such as this.
Well, first off, we've taken a crash course on how to use Zoom and Microsoft Teams, as well as Skype. Everybody has had to learn how to hold meetings without physically being present in person. And this is just another example of how we can use that technology. But as you're aware, Kerry, the governor has locked down the assisted livings and nursing homes, and which means nobody can go in or out unless you are staff. So subsequently, it has created a lot of problems in trying to get documents executed. Also, we've noticed a lot of people don't want to come into the office. They would prefer to stay out of the office if at all possible. Now, in Florida, we have a new law that goes into effect July 1st, where you can actually execute a will, a trust, or a power of attorney remotely. But that does not go into effect until July 1st. So we don't have that technology where somebody could sign, say, on an iPad, and then we save it as an electronic file, and subsequently your will or documents would be in electronic format. So we don't have that available to us yet. So when we're having people come, some people have no problem. They come to the office. In my office in particular, we use a lot of hand sanitizer. We have face masks. We actually disinfect the conference room between each client, as well as the doorknobs. So we do our part. Some people still do not want to come in the office. So we have now offered curbside signing, where they can literally sit in their car. The witnesses and the notary will come out, stand on the sidewalk, well over 6 feet away. One of them will approach with gloves and a mask on and give them the documents. We give them a pen, which they can keep, and they can sign the documents in their car without ever having to leave their car. And then, of course, we take the documents back, disinfect them, run them through the copier, disinfect them, and give them back to the client. So we are able to do basically curbside signings. We've innovated a little bit. We had to have a couple people in facilities sign documents. So we had the facilities roll the people up to a window We had all the witnesses and notary on the other side of the window standing outside. We can communicate either through the window or by phone. And then we had them execute the documents within the line of sight of the witnesses and the notary. Then the documents come back out. Everybody else notarizes and witnesses, and we're able to accomplish some of the signings that way. So it's very important, especially in this time, to know what the requirements for signing a document are.
Right.
Florida, we have a case that says you don't all have to be in the same room. You can have, as long as you have line of sight where you can see the person physically affixing the signature, you're okay. So what are the requirements for certain documents? Well, the advance directives, which are the healthcare surrogate and the living will, both require 2 witnesses. Now, both of those documents also require that one of the witnesses not be a relative. And on the healthcare surrogate document, neither of the witnesses can be anybody named in the document. So with those documents, it's not too difficult. We can hand them in. They can take them to the person they could sign, and the hospital or nursing home or assisted living staff can witness them. And it's not that troublesome because they simply require 2 signatures. When we get over into a power of attorney, now we require 2 signatures and a notarization. So it gets a little more complicated because now we have to have a notary. Obviously, that notary either has to personally know the individual or has to see some sort of driver's license. Now we're talking 3 people. Typically, the facilities do not have notaries on staff, so we're bringing our own notary to the facility, or if they're signing at the office, we have notaries here. So it becomes a little more complicated. A lot of people also don't understand. In Florida, a notary, a person signing a document can actually direct a notary to sign on their behalf. So if somebody could not sign a document, say they lost the use of their arms, they could actually ask a notary to sign the document on their behalf. So you can utilize that, a little tidbit of information, sometimes to your advantage. Whereas if you have somebody inside a facility and they don't want to sign something or they can't sign it, they could direct a notary standing on the other side of the window, watching them, to sign on their behalf. So there is a way to get around that even. With a will and trust, both of those require 2 witnesses and a notary. Let me paraphrase that. The 2 witnesses are what is required to make the document valid. The notary typically signs something called a self-proving affidavit. And that is just for purposes of when we try to admit your will or trust to court, that there's an affidavit that the notary saw the witnesses and the testator signed the document. However, that is not a necessity. So you could actually sign a will with 2 witnesses, and then what would happen when you passed away is we'd have to get one of the witnesses to come in and sign a sworn statement that they saw you sign it. So the requirements for signing a will or trust are just 2 witnesses who sign in the presence of the testator and each other. The notarization is just simply for the affidavit, what we call the self-proof affidavit, that makes it a lot easier to work these documents through the court system. Mm-hmm. So there are ways around these things. A deed in Florida, as of January 1st, you can have a deed remotely notarized.
Wow.
So that is available, and most of the title companies are very aware of that, so they can do long-distance closings without people having to come into their office. So those documents are good to go. It is interesting to note, even in July 1st, when it becomes available, electronic signatures, you still can't do an electronic signature if you're a vulnerable adult.
Oh.
And how do we define that? Well, we use the statutory definition, and quite honestly, most people who are in assisted living or a nursing home are going to be classified as vulnerable adults and not going to be eligible for the electronic notarization witnessing of documents anyway. We want them, and the reason for that is we want to make sure that these people aren't being taken advantage of, and that there is somebody who at least gets to look them once over to make sure that they truly want to sign these documents and aren't subject to undue influence, coercion, or duress. So those are some of the things we're doing. We've been giving seminars. I moderated 2 separate seminars for the Florida Bar Elder Law section on getting things signed. The speakers we had were very good, and they went through each of these things step by step. Everybody has their own kind of way of doing it. We're doing curbside signings where people can send their car. The title company is right next door to my office, has a table set up right outside one of their windows. So the people can walk up to the table, sign their documents. The witnesses and notary just sit on the other side of the window and watch them. So there are a lot of different workarounds. We were lucky enough to have gloves in our office. We were using them for cleaning. So we do have the gloves, but typically we use, a lot of people don't think about this, but you can use standard dishwashing gloves, which are not hard to find. They're still available in grocery stores. And if you use those, then after you're done, you can actually sanitize those with bleach water and kill anything that's on them and reuse them, unlike the disposable gloves you have to use each time. We did get some masks, but generally we're using cloth reusable masks for the masks we wear.
It's a pretty unusual time for everybody getting used to all of these things. I do remember, and I was going to ask Joe about this as well, because I know that you guys have done radio shows in the past where you talked specifically about these changes in the law. And I know you're always a big proponent of making sure that we protect our seniors. And one of the things that I remember you talking about, you and Joe talking about on the radio, was one of the challenges with the new law was making sure that somebody wasn't like off camera influencing the person trying to sign. So it's interesting to hear you talk through all this. And Joe, I was just going to ask, you know, the thoughts and the experience that you have working with seniors over the year. Do you have a comment or something to add in about what Bill is saying on all?
When I was listening to you talk, Bill, one of the concerns that I came up, I was waiting for you to say something about the curbside service, and I've gotten to thinking about a concern I have is establishment of witnesses, and then the processing of legal documents as ones that would require a verification by somebody that can establish a legal document like a certified power of attorney.
Yeah, so when we have the people do the curbside signing, the only person, we have one person with the gloves and mask on who's going to approach the car. And that is the one who gives them the disposable pen that's, we ordered a whole bunch of these. They're in their own individual boxes. So when you pull it out, you're the only one who's used it or touched it. And then you can sign the documents and you get to keep the pen. Down the sidewalk is where actually the other witnesses and notary are, so that nobody's within 6 feet and nobody's breathing on each other. And then once the person signs all the documents in the car, then they do all the witnessing and notarization that's required. So that's kind of how we accomplish that. Like I said, the title company next door is doing a little different model. They have a table set up, and the people get out of their cars, sit at the table, go through everything, sign it all, and then they bring the documents inside for the notary and witnesses to sign.
Well, one of the things that when I saw Dr. Sheldon, that's why we're going to combine your show with the one from Dr. Sheldon, because he's had to buy additional equipment to ensure that the cleanliness standards were even went above what the medical people wanted. And I didn't know in the it would seem like his ability to establish cleanliness standards would be about the same as your ability to process documents, let's say, fairly as fast as you could before. But has this required you to add on more people for your staff or not?
Well, this week we are slammed. We have lots of things going on, different sorts of things. However, last week we were kind of slow, so we haven't added anybody on to the staff. As you can imagine, you have this COVID experience is kind of two-pronged. You have the healthcare end of it, but you also have the financial end of it. And, people are not, when the stock market dives like it did and people are out of the jobs, a lot of times one of the last things they're thinking about is going out and hiring an attorney. So, we tend to slow down like we did in 2008 when we just had the financial prong. But with this, you're getting both of those at once. So we not only have a medical concern, a lot of people have a financial concern as well.
The other concern that I had personally was the ability of the law firms to figure out a way to get people to understand that when you have a pandemic or you have something in the country where the governor or the president tells you to do something, how do you establish the link between their ability to understand what they've been told to do and to actually do it? Have you found that yet?
Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example of that. The governor came out with the stay-at-home order except for essential businesses. And the governor used the Miami-Dade order as well as the definition by the Department of Homeland Security as what an essential business is. If you go through the Miami-Dade order, it says that if you are providing legal services that have basically court-mandated things involved, you meet the definition as far as for those legal services. So in my practice, we litigate. We do will and trust litigation, guardianship litigation. We also have a lot of guardianships and probates that are going on, which have court-mandated timelines for things to have to get done. Also, under the federal Homeland Security essential business definitions, there are several definitions, including people who supply support services for the elderly. Well, that's the definition of an elder law practice. We also help people get veterans benefits and Medicaid benefits. And you can imagine at a time like this, we don't want anybody's healthcare services failing. So my practice fell under several different definitions. Most of my staff has been coming to work. I wrote up a letter for them to carry in their car that explains all the different categories that we fall under as an essential business in case they ever got stopped by the police. Also, I do have one staff member who has a fairly elderly, not real elderly, but a elderly spouse who's got respiratory issues. And so she's been totally working from home. And whenever we need her, we teleconference her in, and we've been doing everything by email. And she's been at home probably 5 weeks now, 5 or 6. So she's been out of the office. But again, with modern technology, we really haven't missed a beat. We're still able to do that. And in that respect, I'm lucky that I did not have to close shop, so to speak, like some other areas did, which also makes important, that payroll protection plan monies for, even in lawyers' offices. I employ 6 people here. I'm a small business. You cut our income, and I still have to pay rent and all kinds of bills, and so that we applied for and got monies through that program to help us with the payroll. We have seen business drop off a bit the last, I guess, the first 2 weeks of the lockdown, but the last 2 weeks we've actually seen it pick up significantly. Now, the golden rule on all this, and when you see my new ad come out, it'll basically tell you, is that life is full of surprises. Get your planning done before the next surprise hits, which means, if you've been putting off getting your power of attorney, living will, healthcare surrogate, and will and trust done, when this passes, get this done. So you're not one of these people we're trying to get to at the nursing home assisted living to sign documents. A little forethought and planning goes a long way in situations like this.
But when you work with clients that are in the nursing home, do you find clients that have is it a requirement from a nursing home that they have these basic documents in place that you and I and Kerry are talking about?
It is a requirement that they have a decision maker in place. But that decision maker could be somebody who has authority under the healthcare proxy statute. Doesn't necessarily mean that somebody has a healthcare surrogate or a power of attorney. And then the second prong of that is not all durable powers of attorney are created equal. A lot of the power of attorneys that we see are defective, or they do not grant powers that we need in order to assist somebody properly. So we're trying to get new documents done, to get somebody eligible for Medicaid or VA or something like that.
Okay, I know a lot of people might be concerned, especially if you don't think there's anything wrong with the person. Let's say it's a family member, and you think that person can complete control of their faculties, and in fact they don't. If a person, how does a person recognize? Well, it's sort of a 2-part question. How do you recognize that? And then if you recognize that as being a problem, how do you go about fixing that if you don't have this face-to-face contact with them as you have had in the past?
It makes my job much more difficult because, we have to, I'm not a doctor, so I don't really actually have a medical expertise in this, but after doing it for a long time, you can generally tell when somebody has capacity or lacks capacity. If we have any questions, a lot of times we'll ask the family to go ahead and get something from a physician that states they have capacity to sign documents. So we kind of cover ourselves there. It all depends on how the conversation goes. And yes, it makes it a lot more complicated without having a face-to-face with somebody.
Okay. So what we've, in fact, with this COVID-19, we've created more unseen things that can get in the way of getting something done legally, right?
Right. And as we always say on this show, the whole object is to plan ahead.
Okay.
So we've got about just a little over a minute remaining in this portion of the show. Bill, how do people get in touch with your office if they are probably facing something and they're not sure what's available or what steps to take right now?
They can call us at 321-253-1667. We do have a webpage, Florida Elder Law, all spelled out, .net. And it's got lots of good information. And obviously, if they have certain questions, they can look at Helping Seniors of Brevard's YouTube channel. And there are me and several other attorneys who do discussions on various topics that are on there. And they can go look at those videos. Just realize some of those are probably a little dated, depending on when they were actually done. But there's some really good information there as well.
All right.
And we're back with more of Helping Seniors of Brevard here in the second half of the show. I'm John Harper, and right now, let's check in one more time with Joe Steckler. Good afternoon, Joe.
John, I'm glad to be back on the second half of the show because I was sitting there thinking about what we talked about on the first half. And right now, folks, it's just to give you an idea of what we're doing. Dr. Sheldon is over in West Melbourne on Sarno Boulevard. I'm over on the beach side. John's in Titusville, and Kerry's in Palm Bay. And here we are doing a radio show, and it's partly on Skype visual and partly on Skype, just Skype voice. And it just shows what the technology has enabled us to do over the years. And I was thinking about the coronavirus thing, and there was a commercial last night, or somebody sent me one that was made in Israel, and it showed the effects of a person that was going to go into a building, and they sneezed all over the handle of the door. And they came back later to show what could have done if the person had just sneezed into a handkerchief or possibly his elbow of his arm, and that had not been, those germs had not been placed on the handle of that door, because the person after him, a woman came in, touched the door. She had the virus on her hand. She goes into the elevator. She pushes the elevator button to go up, and she gets off on her floor, and then another woman pushes the button to go to another floor, and the virus is on her hand. But the point is, folks, we enable ourselves to spread things when we could do a better job if we just think about it. And I'm just as guilty as that as anybody, but I keep thinking about Dr. Sheldon. A man has traveled all over the world and has been on radio and TV, because I first did, one of my first television shows I did was on Dr. Sheldon's television show years ago. And Kerry is a TV guy and a radio man. And there are things that we've all seen in our lifetime that are really good information for people to know. And we can think of things that we can tell our listeners how they could do a better job of living their everyday lives. And I think, Dr. Sheldon, that you would have some very good pointers for people who are listening about things they should or should not do. Could you talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, sure. The first thing that comes to mind is how many times do we go to the men's room and we see people that don't wash their hands or don't flush the toilet? I hope that's going to get better as a result of this. I think if there was a silver lining, that would be it. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I didn't hug people nearly as much as I'm expected to hug people now, up until this time. But there has been more social contact, hugging people you don't know, all sorts of stuff that's gone on that has resulted in more social contact than maybe is appropriate. Now, maybe I'm sounding a bit on the prudish side or maybe on the conservative side, but maybe we can back off that a little bit. I think if we all learn that washing hands is as important as we've always been taught, and for anybody who's taken a cruise, they emphasize washing hands all the time. They have a little jingle. They have people playing guitars in the in the food line saying "wash your hands." I mean, if washing hands becomes a more than just a lick and a promise, I think that's going to be good. I think the other things I'm looking at right now are, frankly, retooling. This is a reset button. It's a reset button for all of us, whether we're retired, whether we're working, whether whatever position in life we're in. And it may be that the things that were on automatic, or for me, the automatic things that build into other automatic things, I think, there's a break that we can take and we can reassess every decision we've made with regard to the types of vacations that we take, with regard to the people that we decide that we want to associate with and maybe don't want to associate with. All of that, I think, can we can look at that and really reassess. I know that I've connected or reconnected with more people during this time than I did before. And maybe it was because I was too busy doing the automatic stuff. And maybe the automatic stuff wasn't quite as important as the reconnections that I've made. So there's going to be a silver lining here, and we're not going to be totally the same when we come out of this. There's no way on earth we could be. And hopefully, the better things, or the things that we should be doing for each other as well as doing things for ourselves, that may come to the fore. Maybe we'll cook a few more home cooked meals. Maybe we just won't be as rushed to do everything all the time, every day, go to bed exhausted. Maybe there will be some good things that will come out of this. I think there will be.
I think that there will be some good things that come out too, because I will honestly admit, in my own lifetime, I have watched people work at preparing food and then go to the bathroom, and I knew for a fact that there were no towels in that half bathroom. So how do people dry their hands and come back to work? It bothers me, and we do a lot. Our workforce, many men are placed in a position where there's just simply no way to wash your hands, and you do touch your face because. But I think with anything, this is going to make us more aware, and people will try to do things a little bit better. Kerry, you're a radio guy, and you hear Dr. Sheldon and I talk about some of this stuff. But what is your take on having been involved with a nonprofit for many years now, and how we try to educate people? We talk about the information part of it all the time. We never really talk about the education part.
Well, we're in a time that is, to comment on what Dr. Sheldon had said, which is, I think, so true. I think if the things that are good that are going to come out of this, we have got a whole new appreciation for being, taking precautions in a way that we never thought about before. I think this is going to help us next time we have just a general flu season, because we are going to start taking seriously about washing our hands and doing all those kind of things. And, they always say it takes a couple of weeks. If you're going to get into a new habit, it takes a couple of weeks of doing something to be able to get there. And so to kind of circle back and try to answer the question that you asked about, which is really what happens with the education aspect. That's, I think, the most valuable thing that we as a small nonprofit organization do here in Brevard County. We always say we have a county that's 25% over the age of 65 and 50%
over the age of 50. So if you want to use the AARP definition, half of our population is seniors. Why is this moment actually a good moment for seniors? And I'll tell you why I believe that is, number one, for the first time, we're actually concerned about our senior citizens. There's been nothing but nonstop news coverage talking about we got to look after our seniors. If you're a younger person, be careful. Don't track this in. Don't give your grandmother the COVID-19 virus. Let's do all these things the safe way. And I think the other thing it's doing, and I believe that we're going to see this as we come out the other side, is people are going to be more aware that seniors need our help. Instead of just saying, they can take care of themselves. We've railed for years, and that's why we've established the advocacy program here in Brevard County. Is half of advocacy is making decision makers aware of the fact that seniors have needs. And I think there is going to be a good opportunity for us in the latter half of 2020 to let people know and to really continue to beat the drum that, folks, when we have that many seniors here in Brevard County getting, if you want to use the 50-plus number, close to 300,000 of them in Brevard County, we have got to start taking the needs of seniors seriously. And that's the part that we try so hard, is helping seniors to create education, both when people call Kim and they ask her questions directly, or when you do radio programs, TV programs, you write the columns in Hometown News. All of those things are the Senior Scene magazine effort. Everything that we do is geared to getting information in the hands of people that is going to help them make the most of their senior years.
Well, it is like Dr. Sheldon has a specialty practice with the implant, but his son does general dentistry there, and a lot of people may not understand that. But having said that, let's say there is a 91-year-old man that lives someplace here in Brevard, and he wants to get to Dr. Sheldon's office. Cabs are so they're hard to find, and they're extremely expensive. And seniors, a lot of them have certain types of insurance that works for them, that helps them get a doctor's service or a dentist service. But they got to get to that place. They have to get to Dr. Sheldon's son in order to be treated. But they give up because they don't know who to call. And I had a person call me at sort of the height of this coronavirus thing here, and they said they called a certain organization here that receives federal money, and they couldn't get her to talk to them. I wanted to talk to them about transportation. And I said, they're not closed, they're there. And I made a phone call, got through right away. You got to be patient. In times of a problem in the country, you might need dental treatment, you might need medical treatment, you might need a number of things. But some needs might be a little bit more important than what you need, and the assets that are available to take care of and help people, I guess, stretch pretty far and thin in crisis situations. So
it may be, Joe, but I'll tell you, for seniors, we have picked patients up at their homes and driven them back. I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but if they say I can't get here, we get them here. Any dental office, I think, is, well, maybe not anyone, but many dental offices are willing to, even in good times, and this is probably not going to be the best time coming out of this, but I think people are willing to do what needs to be done in order to be able to help their patients, help their customers. And you'll probably see more of that now that we've gone through this, and now that we're in such a mood to help each other. I think you'll see more of that.
Okay, you say if somebody needs help, you can get them to your offices.
Oh yeah.
But Lee, do you really think that general? Okay, you watched me limp around on my two gimpy knees for a number of years. I've gone through all kinds of pain treatment. Doggone things work, and I finally had an appointment that I had waited for 3 months for a surgeon to look at me, but they called and said because of the coronavirus, they delayed it 3 more months.
Yeah.
That's for people that are in pain and people need help. It's hard. It's hard to have doctors move all this stuff back. I guess doctors have the same right as everybody else to refuse to treat people or to practice a social distancing thing themselves. But if this goes on into the future, there are going to be a lot of people hurting that can't get treated the right way. And you as a dentist have to use your hands to treat somebody. You have to.
I do. And also, we're spraying water and spraying air in the mouth, and anything that sprays in can come out. And so there are certain concerns that we all have. I'm not sure why the doctor canceled your appointment. We've been told not to do elective care, and elective care means bleeding, pain, or infection in the mouth. I don't know what they're talking about as far as elective care for you. It seems to me that you're in pain, that's not elective. But I've seen people have, I know one person who had her endoscopy who was supposed to have an endoscopy. That was canceled. There are a number of appointments that people are making now that are being done by telephone or by video, by Zoom, or by a platform that allows for a HIPAA-compliant way of talking with the doctor without seeing the doctor. So those changes are occurring. I think those changes are going to be permanent. I don't think we're going to have to go to the doctor and actually visit the doctor's office every single time, particularly for a consultation. If you don't need to be there, we won't be there. Those changes are going to occur. I don't understand why your pain thing was canceled, but perhaps we all got the rules. We all were all told what we needed to do and what we could do and we couldn't do. Perhaps that's what, if it's the orthopedic or the neurological side, perhaps that's what they were told. I have no idea what happened to you. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, I think what a lot of it is if you're seeing a doctor that you've been seeing for years and a doctor knows that you're an honest person, and if you say you're hurting, they believe you. But I've never seen this doctor before, and he's never seen me, so I understand.
Well, I'm even seeing patients that I haven't seen before. I mean, there are only a certain number of surgeons in this county, oral surgeons or periodontists, and so if a patient has a problem, I can't say no. If a patient has pain, the patient's coming in to see us. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, but when you became a dentist, you're just like a doctor, you took an oath to help people, and
right.
Sometimes I think it's just a hard situation because we see part of our community sort of walking away from things, and the other part of the community just having to serve. And I know nurses and doctors, when they just shipped 1,100 nurses and doctors from one part of our country up to New York. This is serious. I've got a granddaughter that's been in the ICU part of the hospital, and they moved her to another part. Now they're taking all the nurses and moving them into where they're treating the people with the virus, and they don't have a choice. They do what they have to do. They can take as best precautions as they can, and I understand that. And I think, and it's exactly what you said, Kerry, and Lee has hit at it. We're seeing things change in our lifetimes, and we're going to see more change. Some of it we're going to like, some of it we're not going to like. But I think that's what this coronavirus thing is sort of teaching all of us, is that we can do without certain things, but it's hard just to stay in your house and be concerned about going to the store to buy an address book or something like that. And all the times we stay away from these stores, we're killing the businesses and we're biting the hand that feeds us, because we get unemployment down and then we turn around and we got 6 million people unemployed. So it's a problem. It's a real problem.
Well, we've got to come out of this. And, yes, I have an entire staff of unemployed people. 19 people are unemployed. You can't. So yes, it's small business, and you can't function that way forever, and that's circles back to what I said. And people have been arguing it, but they have not. Right now, it's not taking the most prominent position that it should, but it will. Right now people are saying health, disease, coronavirus. Ultimately, they're going to say, hey, I've got to make a living. I got to pay my bills. And that, if I can't do that, that's going to make a big difference. I'm just wondering how long we can really carry on with this before that situation is irreversible for some people.
Kerry, you travel all over, and you're involved both on the just the everyday on the job training side of this, but you're also involved in the ministry part of it and traveling around helping churches do their video work and everything else. What do you see about, or what do you think about what Dr. Sheldon and I are talking about?
Well, I think it's a unique time in history that none of us in our lifetime that I'm aware of has we've been through. I mean, I'm reading the historical accounts just like you guys are of this Spanish flu thing that came out, in the second decade of the 1900s. And so I guess this is something we're learning a lot about as we go along. But I'll tell you what I am encouraged about. And that is because coming from the, if you will, the church side and all of that, one of the things that has always been important to those of us who have faith is that we do believe that there is a plan, and there is a thing that is happening that goes beyond random chance. And one of the things that I'm really encouraged to see at this moment is that people are understanding that their lives amounts to more than the quest for the next roll of toilet paper, if you will, that there are some things that questions that we should be addressing. And one of the things that while everybody is locked in their homes and they're going to be going to church services or houses of faith at this time during this season where we can't really go and gather the way we've been used to, we're using the technology to do it. But I think the technology has been provided for us at this time. And what I think is something that Dr. Sheldon pointed out a minute ago, too, is that the shifts that are going to come from this, we were talking earlier about how people are getting used to working with Zoom and technology like we're doing the radio show right now with Skype. And Dr. Sheldon was talking a little bit about telemedicine and things like that. I think it's the next wave. And I really, being the eternal optimist, believe we're going to bounce back from this faster and in a strong way that we probably can't even imagine from sitting here, because what it's causing us all to do is take stock and evaluate how are we being efficient. And the American people are the most brilliant people about being innovative and finding a way to fight a problem. I mean, everything I can see about our history as a country is we have always figured our way out of stuff. And that's what I see. And that's what I love to see, the spirit of what's happening here in Brevard County. When I look at what's going on, as we talk about the updates, and I talk to people who are in charge of assisted living facilities or who are doing home health care, and, Jennifer Helen, who sits on our board with Helping Seniors, one of the things they've been doing, Helping Seniors, is making sure that they get, as funny as it sounds, they're taking the time to make sure seniors have toilet paper and other essentials that they may need at home. And so I just see everybody rising to the occasion. And I think that when we come out the other side of this, which I don't think is very far, I think if they're telling us we're at the apex of this now, and it may take a couple more weeks before they claim that we're past the apex in Florida, if we can stay safe, not panic, and I believe we're going to get back to business. It won't be business as usual, but it will be business at the next level. And that's really my hope and prayer in all of this.
Yeah. Well, Kerry and Lee, we're getting close to the end of the show, but I just want to remind everybody that the car raffle we started has just been postponed. We did not cancel the car raffle, folks. You can still buy your tickets. You can still send your money in and help support an organization that gets this kind of information out to you. Because if you don't buy tickets for the car raffle, we don't have a way to generate income. That's one of our income things. So if you can still afford to buy tickets, we would appreciate it if you do it. And as soon as they tell us that we can have the car raffle, we will schedule it and we will get it out on everything possible. We'll do it through the newspaper, we'll do it through television, we'll do it through Skype, we'll do it through radio, we'll get everything out so people will know. And but we're getting close to wrapping up the show, folks. We got about 2 minutes left, and actually 3 minutes left, and so that gives Lee and Kerry a chance to say something. Who should I trust that won't talk too long? Lee, I'll gamble on you. Can you say something intelligent for the last part of the show? I don't want to talk about you and your. Well, enough said. I'll let you do it. We're down to 2 minutes. 3.
Yeah, I think right now, if people are really concerned about protecting themselves, and people are of my age, which is 69 years old or older or younger, around that age, I think it behooves you to stay close. I think I would follow governor's order. I would wear a mask when you go outside, particularly if you have immune compromise. If you're taking steroids and things like that, you're immune compromised. You should be wearing a mask, and you should be staying at home. Go out and get some exercise, but let somebody else get some groceries for you. I think that's going to help you, and that's going to get you past this. I think that's probably going to be the most important social distancing that we can see right now.
Lee, because you just said you were 69, is that why you always treat me like I'm your father?
Do you treat me like I'm your son?
Kerry, you want to wind it up today?
Yeah, I just want to say helpingseniors.carraffle.com, helpingseniors.carraffle.com. We're sitting in our homes. We're expecting stimulus checks. What a great thing to do is to pay it forward right now and help us in the work of helping seniors. 1 ticket for $25, 5 for $100. It's the most important charitable deduction you can make. And as I understand, they're creating some new laws that are going to make it possible for you to deduct that regardless of your income and some of the tax rules as part of the stimulus package. And so want to encourage you to get involved, because when this is all through, we're going to have a great big party at the American Muscle Car Museum.
I agree. And folks, I just want to thank you for listening to Dr. Sheldon and Kerry Fink and me today. We rambled a bit, I understand, but Talk to Me Radio is something we can say, and I'm going to wrap it up right now and just say thank you to everybody. Please support our car raffle, and we will let you know when it's going to be. Thank you, Dr. Sheldon.